for joining me. I am Heather with Rose Hill Paper Cottage, and this is my design team project for Chapter 1 papers. I'll be sharing how I created these beautiful paper bags. So the inspiration from this came when I was watching Maria from J'adore la Papier, her last video. She created this Maid of Honor journal. And, I've used these metal label holders in a lot of different ways, but I don't think I've ever actually attached them to a bag. At least I don't recall. And there was this French bag, and she used these metal label holders. And I thought it was so cool. And I don't have any French bags, so that's kind of how this idea was. Well, I'll just make my own paper bag. There's also a fabulous tutorial with Heather at Ruby and Pearl, so I'll link that video below too of how you can, make fancy bags. But I'm really just doing, like a basic bag using just beautiful digitals. And so I had already created these 3 here. I also created some others, off camera. But I'm just going to share, what I'm creating here, and then I'll make a new one, with you. So I kind of left these really plain and basic, but you could really get, really fancy with these by adding the label holder to, another image and then attaching, gluing that front to the bag. And if you don't have, if you don't want to use your own handwriting or you don't have any kind of label maker, Chapter 1 has these wonderful labels here, which I just kind of showed some of it. But they're from, I think it's called Label Mixtures, but you know what? I'll have all that information below. And all these pretty digitals are from the Aqua and Blue Pretty Mixtures and the Blue Florals. So for that one in particular, I stamped it, and I used a sample stamp for that. So maybe you have some stamps that might work as well. And you can see here I've made different sizes because you can, make it whatever size is going to work for you. And then this one I used, that old style like Dymo label maker. So I'm going to actually make the paper bag with that image, but I'm just, sharing how, you can find other images and use those if you want like a focal point basically on your bag. So these are the sample stamps. So you can see that a little bit better. And they're just perfect for, any kind of, label or marking or whatever that you want to do. You could actually even just like stamp all over the bag with different, labels as well. So this is like this little Dymo label maker I have, and that's how I did the Fleurs label. So like really fun. You can just kind of imagine, just doing some different things. Now this is another label maker that I have that if you happen to have one of those, you could use that as well. So just some different options, and I'll kind of show you, how I created it, the actual label insert and everything like that. But basically I just printed, another image on the inside of the bag, but you don't have to do that. You can line it with book page if you don't want to, print it double-sided, but that's what I did here. I just printed, the image on the front and image on the back for when that shows through. And you can go really grungy with these. You can go really fancy with these. What I did to stabilize the metal holder is I'm just sharing how I used a book page, on the front. And it also helps with when the brads go through, so it doesn't catch on things, but it's optional. If you're using a heavier paper, that's great. You can also just make your own bags with like packaging paper, and or you can even print an image on it, which is what I did here. I just printed an image on there, and just kind of a useful tip is if I'm not sure if my printer rollers are going to pick up a paper, I just, add a little bit of tape to the top, and then I just, it feeds through, and it's always worked for me. And then that tape just comes, really, off easily. It is like a paper tape. It's like in the first aid area, for like attaching gauze. And I tend to use that a lot. It feels kind of like a fabric-y kind of tape. But it's thin. So that works, as well. So I'm going to put these off to the side, and you really don't need much. You just need whatever digital that you want to make into your bag. Print on the other side if you want to. If not, you can always use book page or just let the white show, or print on tea-dyed paper or something like that. And then determine which way you want to fold it. If you want to fold it the long way, which is what I did with that blue one, So it could be folded that way, and you can have like a longer bag if you want to, but you could still cut it short, doesn't matter. Or you can go the wide way, which is, I believe, what I do with this one. Just because of the image, I'm looking to see what I like, and that's what I focus on for the front. And then you basically just need the metal label holders, some glue, some brads, and something to poke your holes or punch your holes. And that is it. It's super simple. So I'm kind of, just kind of determining like maybe where I want to have it and where the image is going to be. And then that's when I create my first fold. So I'm just going to fold it where I want it. And I'm guessing, I'm not measuring. I'm just eyeballing it, going with, just what looks good to me. So now I want to work on like, how wide do I want the bag to be? And then I just fold that. So now I can, remove all of the white edging, and, you can tear this if you want more of that kind of look. I think I cut all of it except for I'll tear the inside flap, but you'll see that in a second. And this all kind of gets trimmed a little bit later, so, it doesn't matter to me at this point about being, perfectly precise. So now I don't need that bulk in there, so I'm going to get rid of, some of that. So as long as I have, a little bit to grab onto the paper when I glue that flap closed, it's all good. So there's plenty there. And it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter to me where my seam is on the back. That may matter for you if you want it like perfectly in the middle or whatever, but I just go with the front and what image, what I want it to show on the front. So I don't worry about wherever the seam is on the back, doesn't even bother me. So then I kind of just loosely fold it in half here, not creating a crease or anything. And then that way my angles on each side are the same. So super easy little tip. Then I fold down this front piece, and then I'm actually going to fold it back inside itself. Now you could opt to cut it off, but because for strength and durability, I'm just going to actually fold it back. And this is where you could bring in all your decorative scissors if you want to. I like the pinking shears or any other kind of decorative scissors, but I won't. I'll just use scissors. And I'm going to trim that top part a little bit later. It's a little bit tall. But, I'll do it a little bit later. So I'm just showing the pinking shears that you can use. So I'll do the same thing on the bottom. I was trying to decide where I wanted it to be. And so, I'm going to trim a little bit here. And I think I actually end up trimming it even more. I go a little bit shorter even. So we're going to trim off those outside pieces because we don't need them. It just helps everything to lay nice and flat. And you see I tear it a little bit there. But you know what? That's okay. Mistakes can be, fixed, embellished, made to look even better. So I don't even worry about it. I'll address it later. So I've decided to age it. Ink takes care of everything, right? And this part's optional too. You don't have to age it. I just think it gives a little bit of like definition sometimes. Inking is also sometimes really good, like when you want something to feel like not so crisp and new. You want it to have a little bit of an old, kind of look like it's been around for a bit. And these bags, I may even kind of like bend them and, mess with them a little bit more just to kind of make them not look so perfect, but I may just leave them perfect as well. So now I want to decide where the label is going to go. And, it can go on the bottom, it can go at the top, it can go along the side where, whatever your image is, wherever it looks good to you, that's where you can put it. I tended to kind of put a lot of the labels at the top, but it would have looked just as good, down below. And then I just kind of mark the holes with a pencil. So then that way I can kind of, gauge where to poke the hole. And I'm just using an awl, but if you have a needle on hand, you can just use a needle to poke the hole through. It just helps with the brads, and to not crinkle your paper too much. So then I'll attach the label holder. So I'm just kind of sharing how I kind of, really press those in, so that the label is not loose on the other side. So now I'm just going to add some book page, both to just add stability, and then also so, when things are getting, slid down inside, they don't catch on the brads either. Now, if you don't print on the reverse side, but you don't want the white, then you could just do an entire book page, through the back if you wanted to. Or any kind of paper, packaging paper, whatever paper that you wanted to use. You could, add that instead for the backing. So I'm just using some glue and I'll glue this down. And then it just creates a real sturdy, bag, I think. When I'm creating journals, I tend to over make, and I just have too much stuff. And so these bags are going to be perfect to just tuck the extras in. I just think that that's a fun way to present, extra things. This would also be, really great for Happy Mail. I just think that, that would be so fun to just make, some bags or a bag and then fill it with goodies. And, it's just such a sweet way to do that, I think. So now I'm going to glue the front flap in. And I'm giving that time to dry, but I'm also kind of looking at it. Do I want to age that edge or not? So I'm just thinking about all that. And then I'm just going to glue that seam closed. Then I'm just going to trim off a little bit of that because I just feel like it's a little too tall. and a little bit of light inking. Isn't that floral so beautiful? It's so pretty. The colors are just beautiful. So now I'm going to glue the bottom closed. And then I'll also decide if I want to do anything where the paper is torn. Looking at it now, it looks kind of like fine. But I will do something with it. So I'm just trying to decide, like, how shabby do I want it? So when I just take a piece of like this packaging tape and I just use it, I just created like, kind of like a little bit of a, like an age tape, but I just used like some packaging paper instead. And I think, it ended up looking really cute. So I just think, anytime you make like a mistake, I kind of call them a lot of times like happy mistakes. They're not really mistakes, they're just, things that happen when you craft, and then, you can just fix them, so nobody really knows, right? Well, I mean, everybody knows now, but, otherwise nobody would have, really known. I just figured out a way to just embellish the error, I guess, and fix it. But now it even looks cuter, I think. Do I even make sense? I don't know, but in my mind, it completely makes sense. I just love it. I think it's such a cute little bag. So with the extra book page, I am going to make my label holder. Or not label holder. I'm not making the label holder. Those are metal. I'm making the label, what do you call this? The name, the tag, I have no idea. Anyway, moving on, I am using the metal holder, like another one to kind of like see if I like one of these images. Now this one would have really worked because it has like that lavender, which pulls the flower. So I kind of like think about using that, but I'll ultimately go with something different, like a different, script. I mean, but any of them could work, and they don't have to fit perfectly. You just cut them down to the size that you need, for the label. So I think I'm going to go with that one there. And then the part of the book page that I tore away, I'm going to actually use that for the insert. So I'm going to like double it up just to add a little bit of stability. So then what's cool about these is they can be removed, and if the recipient wants to, add something that's more personal, or, maybe something from their own ephemera that is dated, or, maybe they've got, a family member that wrote something down that they want to use instead. These are removable. So, that's what makes these kind of cool too, is that they can be removed and named something else. And a great way to use up more book page. So I'm just making sure, kind of like doing a little test run to make sure it fits in there well. And then I will, cut the label a little bit better and attach it to the book page. So super easy to do. Just so quick to put together. I mean, it doesn't take long at all. I made these within, oh my gosh, probably like an hour maybe. So they're really, really quick, especially once you're on a roll, once you have everything printed and everything, ready to go, it's quick because you don't really need very much, to do things with or to create these. So I hope you'll make some too. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me below. And I'll list all of the kits that I used, and then also the label holders. I'll add, those in. I purchased them a couple years ago off of, Amazon. I don't know if they're available, but I'll post them there, and if they're there, great. If not, you might have to find something, equivalent, but I'll try to remember to look for that. Because sometimes, stuff is not available anymore. And there could be other options as well. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you'll make some. If you do, and you're on Instagram, tag me there, or leave me a message below that you've created some of these too. I'd love to see what you guys create. I think it's a lot of fun. And, you never know who you might inspire as well, when you're creating and posting and, making things and sharing them and, sending them. They can be great bits of inspiration for others. So anyway, thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate it. And I hope you enjoyed this. So I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.